Department of Transportation Services. And can you all hear me, by the way? Okay. For some of you, the Waikiki Regional Circulator study is old news. You either have presentations made at your boards or you're on the CAS list. And for others, this is something new. The Waikiki Regional Circulator study, the basic premise of the study is to look at ways to improve circulation for buses, for pedestrians, bicycles, you name it, in Waikiki, and with a primary goal of preparing bus service to meet the rail service when it arrives at the Ala Moana Center in 2019. And it's to recommend changes to be made to all of these different aspects, especially for the bus, and whether or not the rail is completed and meets it, it will all be meaningful. It's based on the fact that Waikiki has problems with traffic circulation, with pedestrian accessibility, and a number of items. So this is an unusual planning study for us in that I'm the project manager, but the project is being directed by a stakeholder oversight committee. And these are the people who are on it, the representatives of the various stakeholders, including Ala Moana Center, Convention Center, the hotel industry, other transportation providers such as ANOA and Polynesian Adventure, the neighborhood board, the Waikiki Improvement Association, and they were the ones that initiated this study. They provided some seed money for it and suggested it. So you see some familiar names on this. There's also a companion study being made under the control of the city's ETS Traffic Engineering Division, which is a traffic study. The two are under the same oversight committee so that there is no duplication of efforts and that they are compatible with each other. So recommendations from both studies are to be implemented as much as possible to redirect the way things are done in Waikiki, to try to clean up parking and traffic flow, all of the issues that have been raised by the Oversight Committee and by citizens. And our consultant for the Waikiki Regional Circulator study is Westland, and Linda is here from there. Major elements, and I know this is really hard to read, I'm sorry about that. The first one is service and operations. Second is transit centers and bus stops. Third is fare collection. The fourth is information and wayfinding. The fifth is running way, which I'll try to explain. The sixth is vehicles. This is more specific to the bus operation. Seventh is livable communities, how to include elements of livable communities in this study. And then the eighth is implementation. The first, services and operations. The problem, today's indirect Route 8 alignment. Now this is more aligned with the bus, and this is bus service between Waikiki and Ala Moana Center. Route 8 alignment would require 16 buses to meet rail passenger demand. The solution, provide direct, more frequent service with fewer stops requiring only 12 buses. An alternative was selected after considering 7 elements. I should explain that I'm just doing a real quick overview. The final study has been just approved by the Oversight Committee, and the next step is to take it out to public, to introduce it to everybody, and we'll be having Weston help us with that effort. So this is just a real quick overview, and later on we'll be able to share the whole study with you. Now, what we're talking about for the Route 8 circulator, what the study is recommending is to create a faster, more efficient, more direct circulator service that moves rapidly through Waikiki, meets the rail station at Ala Moana Center, and carries people back and forth. We expect heavy demand, and the existing bus service would not be able to take care of that. But what this is showing is a map showing a suggested route actually split into two, operating between Kapahulu at the zoo through Kuhio Avenue, with making a few stops along the way and connecting more directly to Ala Moana Center using Kapilani Boulevard. And part of it is suggesting some changes to the traffic patterns to allow us to make turns at the Kalakaua-Kapilani intersection that aren't possible now, and that also ties in with the traffic study. The second portion of this would be Ala Moana Center down to the Kalia area. Rather than having the buses making circles and being caught in traffic, we will separate them and have limited stops in the area of the Hawaiian Village and down at the other end near the Army Museum. And again, these are suggestions, and there are particular turnarounds and routes and stops recommended in the study. The idea is to provide very frequent service to take care of the people going to and from the rail station at Ala Moana Center. It also addresses issues with all of the other bus routes that are in Waikiki passing through, whether they would need to be, they could be altered somewhat to reduce the number of buses actually operating in Waikiki. And it also deals with trolley services and other things that are causing congestion and where we conflict with each other. One of the issues for the bus is fare collection. And as an example, the problem, today's Route 8 takes 21 more minutes to operate the same route than it did 20 years ago, primarily due to passenger loading time delays. Questions, paying fares, getting the correct currency or coins. The solution, provide pre-boarding fare payment and all-door boarding to reduce delays. For our super circulator, we're considering, and the study recommends, prepayment so that you can board on all doors. And our articulated buses have 3 doors, and that would really speed up operations. People can step off and everybody can just step on and go. So one of the items that it looked at and went to other cities and looked at what they have is you buy a ticket at a kiosk near the bus stop, and that's what you use. You show it. You wouldn't be putting it in a fare box. It would be an honor system where if you were asked by an official to show your ticket, you would have one. It would definitely speed up the operation. Another one is stop location. Today's Route 8 shares bus zone space with other bus routes at locations with insufficient capacity causing delays. Solution, create stops dedicated to the circulator. And going back to that original map with the few stops, they would be separate from our other bus stops and from trolley stops and all of that, so that people would be able to jump on and off easily without conflicting with all of the other pedestrian traffic waiting for the other buses. One of the things that it's looking at is how to terminate the super shuttle. And what this is indicating is potential sites that were looked at the Waikiki end down by the zoo. And one promising potential site is the number 2 on this map. That's the zoo parking lot. And our consultants have been looking and working with, talking to the people with the zoo, who are also in a redevelopment of the parking lot and area around there, to try to make a compatible bus turnaround for us, also provide space for school buses that are bringing excursions, and to modify the parking and pedestrian flow to make it all work together. And whereas right now, it's just a free-for-all with school buses in the area and our buses having to do everything on the street. This would work out, and that's what discussion with the zoo people have been done. Similar, working on possibilities at the Ala Moana Center end, how to enter the center, where the actual station would be, and what the connections to the rail station, escalators, elevators, placement, all of that is part of the study recommendations. Information and wayfinding, number 4. The problem, confused riders cause delay. The solution, create coordinated wayfinding and provide real-time electronic information displays. If you've traveled, you've experienced these. We have a couple of attempts at this. We have signs at our Kalihi Transit Center that tell you when all the next buses are. What these photographs are showing are various combinations of signs and electronic boards indicating what type of service, where it's going, when the next one will be arriving. So the study is also recommending providing that at least at our super circulator stops, and possibly at as many as possible of our other bus stops. And running way. The problem, shared roadway causes delay. The solution, extend transit priority treatment, starting with colorized pavement and bus stop pavement markings at each circulator stop. Consultant has looked at areas around the country and other parts of the world where they do this. We have a little bit of it already here with certain lanes that are dedicated to the city bus only. And this is illustrating the area in Waikiki where we already had that. A portion of Kuhio Avenue is transit bus only. And the study is recommending areas where that would be extended or added in using different types of signage and colored pavement to help people understand where they can drive and where they shouldn't. Study also looks at vehicles. Vehicles must have high reliability. The solution offer proven technology with meaningful features. And as a component of this, we have, that we're already acting on, we have federal funding to do a demonstration project for a certain type of bus. U.S. Department of Transportation, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development awarded Honolulu a $5 million grant. Funding is provided through an initiative called the Transit Investments for Greenhouse Gas and Energy Reduction, or TIGR 2 program. The city will use the grant to replace diesel buses in Waikiki with turbine hybrid electric buses that are quieter, more fuel efficient, and produce lower emissions. We're in the process of procuring a few of these buses as a test of the technology, and we intend to implement them in Waikiki where they would be highly usable, tested, and to see if they could actually replace some of the vehicles we have now. The bus is by design line. It's a version of the EcoSaver 4 model. One type, a version of it, a variation of it is already in service in Denver on their 16th Street Mall, and there are others either in use or being procured by other agencies. So as a pilot for this type of technology, a small gas turbine engine that simply drives a generator. The bus is actually an electric bus driven off of battery. And this small gas turbine engine drives a generator which recharges the battery on the fly as needed, and it also uses regenerative braking from as the bus is decelerating. So it should be a lot quieter and much more fuel efficient than anything we have on the road now, and this will be a test of that. All right, number 7 was livable communities. The problem, pedestrians have not been first. Bicycling infrastructure has not been adequate, and vehicle traffic is overwhelming the roadway system. The solutions create a 7-mile grade-separated pedestrian and bicycle core network, create an extensive bicycle sharing program, emphasize morning deliveries, and priority treatments for trucks, provide real-time parking supply information displays, use complete street guidelines to provide pedestrian-friendly improvements, and create home zones where appropriate, and offer enhancements to public health. And along that, part of this is what this diagram is showing is what can be completed is a pedestrian bicycle walkway that is not, it avoids traffic crossings, and elements of this are already in place. The study is recommending ways to connect all of the areas to have a complete circle of the ability to walk or bicycle without conflicting with traffic. And it goes all the way from basically Kapilani Park all the way around through Kapahulu and around the golf course and over to Alamana Park. And finally, implementation. And this is something that the Oversight Committee is determined that this study not be just put on the shelf. Past plans have been unfulfilled. The solution to create definitive milestones, institutional mechanisms, and monitoring programs, starting with the continuation of the WTSOC, that's the Oversight Committee, and administered by a Waikiki Transportation Management Association, which they're recommending formation of. Now, I mentioned that some things are already being implemented, even though the traffic study isn't complete and the circulator study is just completed. One of the things that was recommended was changing intersection crossing, pedestrian crossing and traffic flow. And the Oversight Committee said, why don't we do that now? And one of them at the Ralph Lyon and Lures intersections with Kalakaua Avenue, there's always been a problem where cars turning right are held up by pedestrians crossing. That causes a backup of car traffic and causes cars to go around, and you've got illegal right turn, double right turns, and all kinds of frustration. The traffic study looked at possible improvements and recommended an all-cross phasing. And although it on the surface initially looked like that might cause traffic delays, actually the model showed that it would improve traffic flow. It was done, it's already implemented, and people are enjoying that, the results of that. And that's it.
Questions for Glenn? Let's start with Ray.
I've got a question. During the workshops, there was a question that was posed that was never answered. If you look at your map, like the Route 8 map, there's an obvious, noticeable black stretch that goes from the Alawai Yacht Harbor all the way to the Waikiki Kapahulu Library. And that's Alawai Canal and the entrance into the Yacht Harbor. Why is that not looked at as an alternative for transportation? You know, we keep using the roads and we do have marginal improvement. But we all know that if there's a serious accident or it's a law enforcement problem, everything shuts down, like the H1 and all of that. So we're using the maximum extent the road infrastructure that we have. Why not think out of the box and think of, you know, I came back from Hong Kong, so I'm kind of jaded, but I mean, you know, like water taxis along the Alawai Canal. There's a lot of benefits in that. One being, right now, Alawai Canal is out of sight, out of mind. So until it really becomes polluted, nobody pays attention. So, you know, it's a resource, especially in this tourist environment. You use an alternative method that doesn't tax the current infrastructure. So, you know, if somebody could take a look at it, I'm not sure if it's feasible, but it's an alternative.
For this study, that wasn't part of the scope, and that wasn't what was requested. It was to improve what we have and to help it do a good job of meeting the needs when the rail arrives at Ala Moana Center. Alternative modes weren't suggested, but that would be something to be taken up by an additional study. But it wasn't part of the scope of this project.
Anything over here, the next one? Next question?
Well, I just wanted to back up what he said about Waikiki. I only go in a couple times a week, but those new scrambles, the barge walk systems, really makes the flow of traffic a lot better. Of course, it's always dependent on the individual driving or the pedestrian themselves, but it's just such an improvement from what it was over past years.
It's good to hear, thank you.
Good. Identify yourself next one.
Could you bring up the slide you had that showed this, the super route, the one in blue that went from, that one, yeah.
No, that was the walkways.
Oh, no, that
Buses.
Look
Yeah,
at it.
it's all the way back here.
That one, right.
Yeah.
Okay. To me, it looks as though those stops are very far apart. They would
Yes.
be too far apart for people to walk, right? But what you are showing on those are only the stops for a special circular?
That's correct. That's for that super circulator that's recommended to help move people to and from the rail station. We will still have other
The
bus
regular
service, normal stops, and in there. We're not eliminating all of the others, but there is recommendation for how to streamline that to try to reduce clutter of our own buses. But there will still be local buses going through Waikiki.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Right next to Frank. Identify yourself.
I'm Hannah Miyamoto. We had our late lamented e-bus service that went down Kalakaua, and then actually saw, I think the new 2L service is doing it too now. Yeah, So I'm curious, why, you didn't, restore that, cause basically when I look at Cohio, it was just brought up by the previous speaker, you are spreading the stops out to the point where it looks a little bit like the old express service that was on Cohio. What was the choice you made about, not reviving that old service?
The consultant looked at fast movement because we need to get, meet the capacity that we expect the rail cars to bring to Ala Center and in between. So just to get people in and out of Waikiki, the fewer stops, the better, to key points. People can continue by transferring to regular buses at nearby bus stops. But these are just recommended locations as key for intersections, for employment centers and all of that. And yes, the fewer stops, the faster the service can move. And this is overlaid on routes where we'll have the regular buses.
Maybe I should just say for the benefit of those who are not familiar with the bus service,
Mhm.
the old service goes down, I guess it does some of it, I guess it's been partly restored, goes
Yes.
down Kalakaua,
Correct.
makes a left here, and then makes another left here. And if the layover is actually here,
Yes.
right about in front of Lulu's bar, and then comes around, and she comes back up here. And there's a Linden number of stops at Cohio, just so you know what the comparison would be, if you're not familiar with the
Yeah, I think the,
express service.
one of the objectives of two-way on the same street is familiarity, so that people know that that service is always here. You get off on one side, you board on the other, and it makes for fast movement. And plus, they should be fairly frequently operated.
Over here next.
Well, actually,
Jim.
I wanted to jump in real
Oh,
quick.
okay, please.
Linda Frystacki. The other reason why we looked at Cohio is because of all of the parades on Kalakaua. So we wanted to be able to have the service operational 24/7 if need be.
Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Okay, the hybrid buses that you're gonna have, are they gonna be, where people can hear them like me? I'm totally blind, and you guys have the new cars, electric cars. We don't hear them. We've almost got ran over by a couple of them. So if you could put some kind of bell system in the new buses or something, or then have them make
I will ask about that.
noise or
I
something.
know exactly what you're talking about. I drive a hybrid car, and I have to be really careful, like in parking lots, because I can sneak up on people, they have no clue I'm there.
Yeah.
Understood.
The next one is here, right here.
You mentioned kiosks when you can purchase your passes.
Yes.
Yes. Will they be accessible to the blind? Will they be audible?
Yes, they should be. I understand that the existing ones are made that way, and I think Linda can confirm that that would be something that we would have.
Oh, good. And then you
Definitely.
mentioned also I don't know, is it for some board they're gonna have display and instruction?
Yeah, that's recommended also, electronic display boards.
Yes, will they be audible as well? Will we be able to plug in some?
Linda is nodding yes, that happens.
I'm writing and nodding at the same time, so.
You know, like they have the ATM
Yep,
machines.
that they speak to you.
In the mainland that,
Right.
okay.
Okay, Tom,
Um,
then Frank.
Who funded the work that's been done so far? And what's the projected funding source and amount for the changes that are recommended?
Okay, off the top of my head, I don't know what funds would be required to finish all of this. The funding for the study was through OMPO, and there was also seed money provided by the Waikiki Improvement Association.
Okay, Frank.
Yes, sir, Frank Donadio, you mentioned a 7-mile grade separated pedestrian and bicycle network. Is that elevated? What kind of grade separation are you talking about?
Parts of it would be elevated, some of it already exists. This would be connecting so that it would be using bridges and crossings. And the idea is that you have the safest possible and most connected movement of pedestrians and bicycles. So yes, there would be grade separation.
10
Elevated,
feet.
yeah. Linda, are there anything that ducks under?
Linda Price, Stacky
Sure,
again.
please.
We've been asked, or had been asked to consider going under the Alawite Canal, but that does bring up its own issues.
Under the.
Under the canal, correct.
Okay,
So
under.
it would all be separated, elevated, is what we're looking at. The cost would be exorbitant going under.
Thank you.
I have two questions and one comment regarding that, what was just said. First question that keeps getting asked to me when I tell people about the kiosk that is getting proposed. I presume that people would be able to use their debit and credit cards at these kiosks?
Yes.
Okay. Second question, of course, has completely escaped my mind. Okay, my comment on the issue of going under the Alawai or going under any bridges, that was discussed about pedestrian crosswalks. One thing I would mention, as a former police officer and someone in law enforcement, anytime you do a enclosed pedestrian crossway or bicycle crossway, especially in areas like right in front of Ala Moana Center, the convention center, where you have a large homeless population, you do set yourself up for what's called blind spots, basically, where crime is going to start collecting. You're going to set up graffiti locations that you got to deal with. Yeah, for some reason that second question can't keep coming back to my mind.
We'll come back to you then.
Okay.
John Mott, Waikiki resident, bicycle commuter. I'm wondering if the path that you showed, the two loops around the two parks and the connecting between, is that going to be mixed use between walking and bicyclist?
As I understand it, yes.
Yeah, I have some reservations about that, but not very effective with the earphone age that we live in now.